Thanks for joining us. I'm Edwin Eisendrath. I'm here with my friend, former Congressman Joe Walsh. We generally get together and say what we think, because I don't think either of us knows how to do anything else.
No. Good to be with you, my friend.
Yep. And we got a lot to talk about this week. Before we came on, everybody, Joe said, look, if the news weren't the news that it was this week, if that big story weren't taking up all the oxygen, what would we talk about? And so after we talk about the big story, we're going to save some time and talk about the other news, because the other news is real and important. And the truth is, until this week, most Americans had never heard of Charlie Kirk. He took over the news because political folk, it mattered to them more than it mattered to the country. And we all stole the news cycle when there's really important stuff going on. But we're going to do it a little longer because there are some things to say about it. Joe, what you've been busy this week. It's been an important topic.
Yeah, Edwin, always good to be with you. A horrible thing. And I know, I've had a very long, complicated relationship with Charlie Kirk.
I do know.
He was like a son to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was his political mentor. I met him when he was 16. I helped him start Turning Point USA. We were political soulmates, and then Trump came along. And it's it's a familiar story.
Yep.
He and I became estranged. He became a big Trumper. I became a big never Trumper. And so many Americans have lost family members, friends, and supporters in this era of Trump. That was Charlie and I.
Yeah.
But I still always thought of him as a son. And so this one hit hard. But I really worry for the country, Edwin. I worry for where we're at.
Well, I won't speak for you, but I'm old enough. I was young, but I remember the assassination years in the late 1960s, and they were terrifying for the country, and they led to widespread public unrest. And I hope we don't go back there. It was a terrible, difficult time.
Yeah, I think what's unusual about this, correct me if I'm wrong, no matter what you think of Charlie Kirk and his beliefs, and by the way, again, he was like a son to me a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I abhor his beliefs. I grew to abhor what he became. That's why this one hits me hard. But this was the political assassination of a private citizen. That's kind of chilling. That's a little different. He was targeted politically. The killer was apprehended this morning. Again, the right and the left, mostly the right, just praying that this guy was a crazy transgender leftist. Wasn't.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
They weren't praying that he was a crazy transgender leftist. They were reporting that it was, as a fact, that it was transgender violence.
By the way, Edwin, to that point, the Wall Street Journal reported that transgender was written not. No, it was they confused the lettering on the ammo and the casings. It said TRN. That was the official, and that report went around the world. And and you're right.
I don't think it was. But how did they get that report? Somebody in ATF leaked this to them and told them what it meant, right? And later on, we now know that they backed off of that and they said that's not what it meant. And the journal, while it didn't publish a retraction, said, "Oh, well, that was early, and we now know more information," right? But the damage that was done, right, by whoever leaked it and however it got characterized, it flew around the world, and and it confirmed some crazy narrative.
And no matter what we learn about this 22-year-old killer, we're going to be in a situation where 30 to 40% of the country is going to believe something that's not true. And
because they've already been told, and first impressions are hard to undo.
But again, what I worry about is, so you can abhor Charlie Kirk and abhor his beliefs, but also condemn murder and political violence.
That's me. I hate this. And I wish he'd survive. Nobody deserves this.
You got to do both. As a people, we need to do both. There was some celebrating on the far left. but there was a lot of using this killing on the right to like declare war on the left. There
Yeah.
was a lot more of that.
Yep, there sure was. And look, the again, we talked about this offline. We've seen now for a year what the left is doing. They are protesting peacefully in huge numbers and in small numbers and frequently all over the country. They're coming out and without violence, peacefully protesting and organizing for the next election. And as you and I are doing, speaking out, something that we absolutely have the right to do and something Charlie Kirk had the right to do. We are out there saying what we think peacefully. The other guys are saying we're going to war. I mean, I'm still pissed off at that image that the president put around of him flying in saying Chicago's going to learn why we call it the War Department. Hell no. Hell no.
It's I've said often that Trump's greatest legacy is the destruction of truth. We live in a post-truth world with half the country. And to me, that's our much bigger problem. And I don't know how we address that. And that's going to play out again in this killing. And it's going to be magnified. And this will become yet on the right, one more big lie, like a stolen election lie that way too many people on the right are going to believe.
Yeah, I mean, I teach about this at a college, and I often ask, well, what's the news? What's the news this week, and what does it tell you? But the news is now weaponized almost at its start. It comes out with a point of view. It comes out sometimes with just nonsense, other times just selectively. This week was a terrible example of news gone awry, really dangerously awry.
Why, Edwin, why do you think, I know it's a big story, and Charlie was only 31, very influential MAGA media personality.
Yep.
But it became a much bigger story than I thought it should have. Do you agree?
Yes. Yes. I mean, honestly, Russia sending drones into Poland, threatening to unleash, a wider NATO war in Europe is a bigger story. It's a bigger story, right? But this one speaks to how, the state of America where we are, and everybody, right and left, is worried about America where we are. And so I think this one struck a nerve. And then, political reporters all knew him, and they wanted to make hay on this and get on as much airtime as they could. And politicians had a lot to say about it. And there's so much journalism is gone in the world. I mean, that there wasn't a lot of contrary coverage of things that are really important.
Yeah, and it's weird. I have a 32-year-old daughter who lives out in the middle of nowhere in Northern California, utterly apolitical, doesn't pay attention to the news. But she said she woke up a night or two ago in tears because she heard about it, and then she read about it, and she was moved. And she's utterly unparalleled, apolitical, and she didn't know Charlie Kirk at all.
Yep.
I had to tell her who he was. But I wonder if that hit like average Americans. This wasn't a politician or an elected official who was assassinated giving a speech. Maybe it does resonate differently. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think he is a politician, but not an elected one. But look, a young man goes to a college campus to speak to kids and is picked off by a sniper from 200 yards away. That's terrifying. And that's wrong. And it's wrong no matter who it is, and that does America's. I mean, and the same day there was a school shooting also, and it just didn't get the attention it should have gotten for those kids.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it. It's political violence.
Yep.
And political violence is different and more chilling because political violence is meant to chill speech. It's an attack on our founding principles. I think that's what makes this so hideous. It's ideological. I abhorred what my good friend Charlie Kirk became.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this was an attempt to silence his speech with a bullet.
Yeah, terrible. Right. Absolutely terrible. I might add, though, it got more attention, of course, than the shooting of the and killing in Minnesota of,
Way more.
Wayne,
Way more.
right? Um, and but this one was universally condemned by politicians on the left and the right. The other one wasn't. I mean, we're in a tough time, and I think the threats from the right are meant to say to you and to me, disarm, shut up. Donald Trump basically said so. The right, I'll pardon anybody. The left, I'm coming after you, which was terrifying this morning.
That's what's so sadly ironic at this moment in history. And maybe you disagree with me. I've said this for a while. I think this is the most divided we've been as a people since before the Civil War. And we've got the most divisive president in our country's history sitting in the White House in this precarious moment. That's frightening.
He's the worst person in the world to be our president in this moment, unless you're Vladimir Putin, and then you're saying, could in my wildest dreams, I couldn't have had this.
So answer me something. So I was on CNN last night with Caitlin Collins.
Yep.
I said what I just said. I said, forget about Trump. He sucks. Don't even look for him.
Yep.
And then Caitlin said, well, Joe, then what can we do? And I said, how about if I were in Congress, I'd grab a bunch of Republican and Democratic members of Congress. We would go out and hold bipartisan town halls, Republicans and Democrats around the country. I said, I'd get a couple Fox News voices and a couple MSNBC voices, have them come together and to hold joint town halls around the country. And then I thought, that'll never happen.
Can't happen. Can't happen. Can't happen. Neither side will allow the other to make nice across the aisle, lose votes that way.
But you believe that.
I do believe that. But I also believe that voices on both sides are saying similar things. I mean, you got some people that I was surprised on the right saying, look, if you think this is a time for violence, you're not my followers anymore. I mean, we have people decrying political violence on the right and on the left. It just doesn't happen to be the president of the United States who is the chief fomenter of everything, every bad instinct we have, from like just plain racist nonsense to political violence.
No, that's true.
We didn't even send our NATO ambassador to the NATO meeting.
Yeah.
Right. We're like, forget it. We don't care.
I've been the elected officials in my new party have overwhelmingly reacted wonderfully to this, and respectfully. Not as much on the Republican side, but generally Republican elected officials have done pretty well. But it's the Republican and the MAGA and the right-wing media voices, the influencers, who've been calling for war. And I got to tell you, Edwin, if this was not Charlie Kirk and this happened to another MAGA influencer and Charlie Kirk still had his radio
calling for war,
he'd be one of these voices calling for war. Plain and simple. I'll never forget when Nancy Pelosi's husband was brutally beaten and almost killed by that madman with the hammer. Yep. Charlie Kirk was one of the leading voices celebrating, laughing at that, and mocking that attack. Again, abhor who he was, but my God, condemn the murder of him.
Yeah. So that, it's hard to know what to do with this. There's all of this threats. We haven't seen, we've seen some actual violence coming. We saw it in Minnesota, this killing in Minnesota. We see the attack on judges that results from this. We see Trump using the military in cities in ways that he shouldn't. Although I want to say bravo to my city. He didn't, he didn't end up sending the troops here because it would not have been, just wouldn't have worked the way he thought it was going to work.
Yeah.
So we are not helpless. And I think it's absolutely right for you and for me to celebrate the voices. Let me do something that I will do today and probably never again. Speaker Johnson did the right thing. He did the right thing. He said political violence is never acceptable. And just because he didn't say it after Minnesota doesn't mean I'm not happy he said it now. I'm
Yeah,
thrilled that he said it now.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
What's
So,
You're right. What's scary is, and you know the facts, for the last 20 years, 70, 80% of the political violence in this country has been right wing extremism. We've entered a time where the left, we're beginning to see an uptick in left wing extremism. So, my worry is, and the right wing violence is still there, is that now it's circular. And I don't know how we stop further acts of political violence.
well, sure you do. And you do it the way you're doing it. We have to say to
Yeah.
everybody on our side, don't you dare. Don't you dare. You know what? This is a very big tent on our side, but not big enough for somebody who thinks the political answers are solved by a gun. Not. Right? I mean, you and I've said this before, I'll stand with anybody who's willing to stand with me. I'm now going to amend that. I'm willing to stand with anybody who's willing to stand with me to make a peaceful change in this country for the good of Americans, not somebody who thinks we can solve this problem with a rifle.
Amen. No, I
Right?
agree. I agree. It's incumbent upon voices to say that.
Yeah.
I wonder how long our political leaders will continue to be responsible. Will we fall back into the same old routine again next week and move
Um,
on to the next?
Well, look, I hope we don't get cowed out of, however, the fight, right? Because I'm going to take the fight to them everywhere and every day. They don't get a free pass from politics in the name of trying to tell us that our politics is fomenting violence. We say, nope, not political violence, but politics. And they want to say, we're in charge, your politics count as violence. I mean, Christy Nome sent out a note, and her undersecretary repeated this, saying, we will arrest you if you take video of ICE agents on
Yeah.
our streets. Right? No, sorry, Christy. No, not true. That is us exercising our free and independent ability to tell the truth and to speak truth to power. That you don't get to censor that in the name of, oh, you're committing violence. That's not violence. What you saw last week, that's violence.
Yeah. Yeah. And I forget, there was a Republican senator who wants to penalize people who make negative comments about Charlie Kirk. I mean, so like the right is already jumping in to try to shut down speech. By the way, the exact thing that Charlie Kirk would have opposed.
Well, the MAGA crowd wants to put a statue of him in Statuary Hall. I mean, okay, there's that. But Marco Rubio said you can't get a visa to come to the country if your social media has been critical of him.
Yeah,
that's just appalling.
It's appalling. It's anathema to America.
Plus, I mean, seriously, don't these people have day jobs? Like, we gave these people real jobs, and instead of doing their real jobs, they're fucking around. So our prices are going way up. So that I don't know, we like the terrible. Go back to the terrible news this week. One of the reasons it was everywhere and so terrible, the governor of Utah told us that Chinese bots and others are trying to divide us, and they're out there spewing it into our news all the time. So okay, boys, do your job. They dismantled the part of the federal government that wants to go after the Chinese bots and keep them from doing this. We said, no, foreign attacks on American, forget it. We're not interested in that. So they're not doing what they can to protect us. Instead, they're like, maybe I should make up something that says we're going to look at the social media feed of somebody who's applying, coming for school to see if they have anything bad to say about Charlie Kirk. Are you kidding me? That's not doing your job.
It's I shouldn't say I'm blown away, but every week I just continue to be reminded it's not Rubio. Rubio knows better. He sold his soul, but these other people who Trump put in charge, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel,
The worst. They're the
Hegseth,
worst.
and they're like media influencers who Trump hired to put in positions of power in government.
Can you believe that your taxpayers pay the salaries of cabinet members to write and study their lines so that when they can go to a cabinet meeting, they can recite the proper benedictions to how great Donald Trump's backside is. like,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to pay salaries for that. They have jobs to do, big, important jobs. Do your
So,
job.
I'll ask you this question. I was asked this question earlier. Will this killing of Charlie Kirk be any sort of turning point in any regard at all?
I think it will.
How?
I think I think we said this before we came on. I think the right in America, I think everybody but Donald Trump has been. They thought that they could just attack the left, attack the left, attack left, and attack them in the fomenting violence way of attacking them, as somehow it would only be the left that feels that violence. And what they learned was, if you make America less safe, it's less safe for everyone. And a bullet does not care about your politics. I mean, leave aside Charlie Kirk, but there were those school children the same day, right? If you make America less safe, if you make prices go up, they don't just go up for Democrats, they go up for everybody. And I think this was a turning point. I think some of the rhetoric we've heard from the right sounds to me more like fear than anything else. And I just think there will be some room for sensible people to back off. But your former party has missed every obvious exit from this Trump fiasco. I've never seen more, brilliant road engineering. Every couple of weeks, there's a perfectly legit exit ramp for them to take. And they just have missed one after the next, after the next. This might be another exit ramp where they can say to Donald Trump, stop it. Do not continue to foment violence in America.
I love you, brother.
They're
I
not going
love
to
you,
do
my
it.
older brother.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
Yeah.
But that's actually, let me pick your brain on something. That's an interesting question. Typically, by mid-year next year, in a president's final term, the president's kind of history, and it's every man for themselves and start gearing up for the next election. He's a lame duck.
He's a lame duck.
I think as Trump's been unprecedented in every other regard, I don't think that's going to happen here. I think the cult-like hold he's got on that party is going to last until he leaves that White House. What's your thought? Will he ever be a lame duck, treated as thus?
I think publicly, I hope so. I hope so. I don't know that, but his numbers keep going down, and there's going to be a place where that's going to start to matter. But even if it's not happening in the way that's completely visible to the rest of us, you can bet that J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio are going to start sabotaging each other if they haven't already.
But they'll never publicly turn on Trump.
No, they have to publicly embrace him harder while they're turning on each other, right? Again, instead of doing the job that we need them to do, right? Well, actually, vice president doesn't have a job, but at least not this vice president.
The vice president doesn't have a job, yet he flew on Air Force Two out there to pick up the body of poor Charlie Kirk. And I know this is the world we live in, and a lot of things are upside down, and this is the attention-seeking economy. And if you can get attention on social media and a lot of clicks and viral videos, you become something. But I just think it's all out of whack. He was a social media political personality, and he's being treated like a veteran
who's been here for a long time. Sure.
Thank you.
It's not. I know. And most Americans don't have any idea who he is and don't know what the fuss is about. They're horrified that anybody would shoot somebody on a college campus giving a talk. But, Americans did not get stirred up by the Proud Boys said, we're coming out of retirement, we're coming back. We're back on the streets, it's war. And maybe they phoned in a bunch of bomb threats. But I hope they stand down. I hope they stand down, because we do not need political violence. We're doing legal violence, with the gerrymanders, with all these other things. And if that's not enough for them to try and cheat that way and want to cheat with a barrel of a gun, they're going to reap what they sow. And America isn't going to put up with this. You and I know this. 60% of America doesn't like anything you're doing.
Yeah. So I quite literally have been in front of a microphone for about 54 hours straight. And I have not paid attention almost to anything else. What, my partner, would you say was another big story this week?
Well, the gerrymander fight continues, and they just, Mississippi, crazy what they did. Uh, the war in Europe. Yeah, it says not, I don't know why the war in Europe isn't so much more important. I mean, 100 years ago, we had World War II because we cared about freedom in the world,
Yeah.
and now it is clearly under attack. And Russia, not by accident, that's not credible, tested Polish airspace with a couple dozen drones and then got them shot down. That's serious. And we called NATO to a meeting to deal with it, and we didn't show up. We sent some underwing because that's right. Those are huge stories, and they didn't get the coverage they need. There was a school shooting, huge story. Again, should not be, oh, gee whiz, somebody shot up a bunch of kids. That's not new. That should
And by the way,
always.
you reminded me, some of our black
Sorry,
colleges
I misspoke. The gerrymander was Missouri. Not,
and some of our black colleges were shut down, and the DNC there was a lockdown. And
yeah, these were related to that first story. They were in that
okay.
post-moment rage where people phoned in. Uh, uh, and we used to have an FBI that would say, "You're making threats like that, we're going to track you down." And it's a big story that we have a weaponized FBI. I mean, or just the failure of the FBI. I mean, Kash Patel looked like an idiot. I'm saying, sometimes the media tells the truth. He's an idiot. Like he didn't, he rushed out to the scene. He said things that weren't true. He jumped ahead of the evidence. I mean, really, seriously. And then he flew out there to do what? To be at a press conference so he could thank Donald Trump. That's it. I mean, and guess what? The FBI didn't catch this guy. His dad turned him in.
Yeah. Yeah. They got a very fortuitous break, didn't they? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, but the FBI did nothing, and that Kash Patel made it worse. And then he screamed at them. There was a meeting where he screamed at all the FBI agents, was full of nothing but profanity, saying, "You don't know what pressure I'm under. Who cares what pressure you're under? Serve the people. Do your job." I mean, I guess
Yeah.
my message to this government is, do your jobs. It's not, America needs a government to do its job. It's not crazy. Do the work. Do the work.
So that's not going to happen. I agree with you. And we're kind of in this 3-year lull where we have a divider in the White House. We have he's incompetent. The people he's hired is incompetent. If you're in Europe and NATO right now, you're just like you're crossing your fingers and your toes and everything for the next 3.5 years that you can get through this. And we really have to do the same thing in America and then just gear up to make sure we defeat my former party next year.
Yeah. Well, we have a couple elections coming sooner, right? And in every one, but we also have to, keep building our base, keep bringing a message to people who haven't heard it, and countering the lies as they come in as fast as we can. But we also have to say to civil society, don't fold.
Yes.
And you and I've talked about this. Send your legal business to a law firm that didn't fold. Send
Yes.
your kids to a college that's fighting back. You know?
Yeah. And oh, by the way, another special election this week. And even though the Democratic nominee won, it was a Democratic district,
Right.
still outperformed Kamala Harris by 16 points. Democratic turnout in every special election since Trump was sworn in has been through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we are deeply anxious to go to the polling place and to say, fuck you. We have a different vision for this country, and it is a positive vision, and you are an anchor dragging us down. We're done with you. We're cutting you off. You can sink in that mire by yourself. We don't like that ugly world of yours. We have a beautiful future ahead of us, and we are anxious to vote that way. And so anxious, Joe, that we show up in, incredible numbers every time we get the chance. So when they think they're going to stop us from voting by, I don't know, putting troops around polling places, we'll stand in line for 3 days if that's what it takes.
Okay, because it's coming. Shit
It's
like
coming.
that is coming.
Yep.
But you're right. Anger and fear both are great motivators.
Yeah, but so is a positive vision. And I think we've got one. It's a vision that includes our neighbors. It's not a vision that says, where's mine? Where's mine? Where's mine? Which is what this crowd is all about.
Though I still believe, my longtime Democratic friend,
Yes.
the party needs work on what that vision is, presenting that vision.
I agree. And that's why we need primaries. We need all kinds of things. And it'll get sharper as they get out there. I mean, I like what I see in some of these candidates around the country. I really do. But we don't have it. We don't have it in D.C. yet, for sure.
Can I close by getting angry at you?
Yes. I won't take it personally.
No, you're always so damn hopeful. I'm a dark Irishman. Every time I talk to you, I feel better and I'm more hopeful. Damn it. I don't like that. Edwin Eisendrath, like you're more glass half full. I love that.
It's because I get out a lot. I talk to people everywhere, Joe. America's a great place.
I agree with that.
These assholes cannot tear it down like they think they can. It's a great place. And this idea of democracy, it's deep in our souls. We're not going to give it up just because they tell us we have to.
Come on, I want to be in my bearish, dark Irish cave. You always, damn it!
Well, when you're next here in Chicago, there's some bearish, dark Irish bars we can go to, and
I would love that. And by the way, everybody who's been listening to us, if you're not subscribed yet to Edwin Eisendrath, do. Damn it, that's an order.
Well, and Joe, I mean, look, we got a good thing going here, and there's a lot of good content out here.
Absolutely.
All right, you take care. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.